Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and yes, I know the title is a little bit tongue-in-cheek when I say bodybuilders are the only people on earth who advocate training slow, lifting weights slowly while still calling themselves athletes. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about why this is kind of amusing. And you know, this is one of the things that bodybuilders always call themselves athletes, and they get upset when athletes in any other endeavor are like, no dude, you guys really aren't athletes. They get upset, they get mad, they get pissed off. But I mean, let's look at that for a basic moment. When you look at every single sport on earth, in the weight room, what has been universally taught? What did we learn from the Russians during the Cold War and the way they trained? And the reason they destroyed us for many, many years in a wide variety of sports, and how does that apply to the modern world today? What did the Russian lifters all do? They all trained explosively. They did explosive Olympic lifts, and that carried over to all their athletes in every other endeavor. What did the weight rooms look like for the various Olympic athlete teams all through the Cold War? They went in there and found out they were just piles of barbells and plates. That's what they had. They didn't have machines. They didn't even really use dumbbells. That's how they trained, and they were fast and explosive. In today's world, when you look at how athletes are trained for everything from football, and I don't care if it's American football or what we call soccer and the rest of the world calls football, rugby, basketball, MMA, sprinters, runners, everyone, tennis players, the best in the world, how do every single one of them train? Anyone care to guess with most of their stuff in the weight room? They train for explosiveness, speed, power. Speed and power is everything. There is no sport in the world in which you want to move slowly. Now, some people might say, well, certain types of grappling for different MMAs or judo or whatever, yeah, but faster rate coding, being able to recruit muscles faster, still even helps grappling. Every exercise scientist knows this. Everyone who trains elite athletes in the world knows this. Yet you'll see tons of people who promote bodybuilding talking about lifting a weight slowly, super slow training, and they'll say such things as, well, you know, the muscle does more work. If you move a weight more slowly, you induce more fatigue, it causes more hypertrophy. You move the weight more slowly, it lets you work harder while using a lighter weight. Well, this work harder thing isn't always an ideal thing, because you perceive it as being harder because it burns more, doesn't mean at the muscle fiber level that you are necessarily working harder. Do you know from a purely a physics perspective what's harder? To take a weight that you've come down on your chest on a bench press, the same amount of weight, whatever it happens to be, whatever percentage of your max, you could have a max of 200 and let's say you got 125 pounds on your chest. Something like 60% of your max. What recruits more muscle fibers? To explode with it from a dead stop off your chest. I'm not talking about swinging. I'm not talking about cheating. I'm talking about exploding that weight up as fast as you can, or to come up really slow on the rip. Which one recruits more muscle fibers? Which one requires more energy expenditure to accelerate it? The fast one. In fact, we know that when you move a weight more slowly, it takes it far, far more reps to reach the upper threshold muscle fibers. The upper threshold muscle fibers have a lot more growth potential than your stamina fibers. And they're responsible for for pretty much all of your explosive power. So actually, you would get more muscle fiber recruitment by moving it more quickly, by moving it explosively, ballistically, but not necessarily in the sense that we're talking about of cheating a weight up. The only reason there might be a reason to go more slowly would be to not cheat or involve other muscles. But we could argue a lot as to how much that benefits. And that's going to vary a lot from exercise to exercise. But the idea is that you have specificity of training. There's a term that's used in exercise science called specific adaptations to imposed demands. That means that your body adapts in a way. There's a direct response to the way that you train. If you train your body to do something, your body will adapt in exactly the way that you train it to adapt. Now, there will be carryover into other endeavors, but it will respond exactly how you trained it. Specific adaptations. Adaptations means changes to the body. They could be changes in the muscle structure, changes in the nervous system, the motor patterns. Specific adaptation to impose demands, the demands you put upon it. When you train yourself to move slowly in the gym, it's going to train you to move more slowly in the real world. So people who train more slowly and build a given amount of muscle mass are going to be at a disadvantage in a lot of ways to people who trained explosively, at least from an athletic perspective, who trained explosively and gained the same amount of muscle mass. There's this crazy idea out there that somehow the slower training puts more muscle on you. No, the slower training just lets you build more fatigue with a lighter weight. It just lets you build up more fatigue. You could create the same fatigue lifting heavy with lower weights. You could create the same amount of fatigue, the same amount of demands upon the body, lifting explosively as well. There's nothing special about it. It's just putting stress on the body that causes the body to need to adapt. It's adaptative stress. But it's been shown repeatedly that heavier weights, more explosive lifting, everything else can put just as much muscle mass on the body. These are all just different tools. But I would suggest to you that the slow training that people do actually makes them unathletic. And it's not putting any more muscle mass on it. And this is something that's been noted over and over and over. Like Glenn Penley, the Olympic lifting coach in the United States, and this throws people for a loop. They get mad. He has people, when he has his lifters, he wants them to go up a weight class and gain muscle. How does he bulk them up? He has them do a bunch of purely concentric explosive lifts, meaning they pin leg rows, which are named after him. They pull them up and release them. They don't do the eccentric at all. He has them do high volumes, like stuff like 10 sets of 3, with concentric only and skipping the eccentric on big exercises that work lots of muscles, because it lets them build muscle mass maximally. Here's the thing, guys. The amount of muscle that you stimulate from growth purely has to do with the amount of work you've done, how much fatigue you've accumulated. It is irrelevant what training method you used to get there. Did you do it with super slow training, eccentric based training, concentric based training, medium weight for high reps, heavy weight for low reps? It doesn't matter. As long as all your workload and fatigue are the same, you will induce the same amount of muscle growth. The difference is on the performance end. How well do you perform as a response to that? And if you have trained yourself to lift slowly, you are not going to be as fast and explosive. You are not going to be athletic. And if you train that way, to compare yourself or call yourself an athlete becomes just silly, because every sport on earth, every athlete on earth wants to be faster and more explosive. And think about it this way. Sure, people can train however they want. That's their right. But even if your primary goal was to get bigger, wouldn't you want to gain extra athleticism with it? Meaning, if you're going to go to the gym and you're going to lift weights for 4 days a week for the next 5 years straight, you're committed to doing that, you're going to be in there the same amount of time. You're going to put in the same amount of work. Wouldn't you rather be more athletic in addition to looking more athletic? Because that's the thing. A lot of these guys want to focus upon, they just want to look athletic, but they don't care about being athletic. There are benefits to being athletic. Otherwise, you're just up here peacocking. You're just up here peacocking. But if you really think about it, if you could gain the same amount of muscle, and we know that you can by doing things more athletic and more explosively and training more like an athlete, wouldn't you rather have the benefits of being more athletic? How about being able to run faster? How about being able to kick harder, punch harder? These things actually might at some point in your life come in handy. They might actually come in handy, and I'm not saying that everyone needs to be running around getting in fist fights. I'm not saying they need to be doing silly juvenile stuff like that. But you have no way to control what's going to happen in your life. Maybe you will be in a situation in your life to where you need to run fast. Maybe you have other activities you enjoy doing outside of the lifting weights. How about if you enjoy playing a pickup basketball game every Wednesday night at the gym or with your friends? You do realize that if you train more like an athlete, it's going to improve your basketball game. You're going to be able to jump higher. You're going to be able to throw the ball faster. If you train more explosively, it is going to help you be better at that. Or you just enjoy playing golf or something. It will improve your golf swing if you have trained yourself to be more explosive than if you've done this slow training. You want to pick up MMA, boxing, anything else is another side hobby. If you have been training more explosively like an actual athlete instead of a bunch of slow training, it is going to carry over to these other athletic endeavors. If you ever find yourself forced into a fist fight, a real fist fight that you maybe don't want to be in, the ability to punch faster and move faster is going to give you an advantage. And I don't mean that someone who's stronger and faster is automatically going to be able to go toe-to-toe with a skilled martial artist, but even Bruce Lee always said that if two fighters are against each other and they're of equal skill, the stronger one will win 9 out of 10 times. Well, strength, speed, and power are a component of all of that. It'll at least give you an advantage. Or you ever need to run for your life in an emergency. I don't care if it's a terrorist attack or a bear chasing you because you went out on a hike finally one day if you're not used to being outdoors. The ability to run faster, which again, your weight training will affect that, might come in handy. But the whole point is athleticism. Every single athlete on earth trains to be faster. And then you have bodybuilders who run around and call themselves athletes, but they specifically train in a way that's going to make them slower and less athletic. And when you really think about it from an exercise science perspective, or even a common sense perspective, it's really ridiculous. And they're doing so because they honestly believe it's going to make them grow faster. When the reality is, it's just another way to train that will give them the same amount of growth, but makes them think that they're doing something special or different, or that they can just use a lighter weight. Well, you can also lift explosively with a lighter weight and recruit more muscle fibers. There's more than one way to go about these things. And all I'm saying is that if you train super slow, you're going to be super slow. And if you are slow, calling yourself an athlete just becomes ridiculous at a certain point. Because if anything, you've trained yourself to be less athletic. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.